Well, good morning, plant science class. We have been talking about over the last several days about soil. We've talked about different types of erosion. We've talked about conservation practices to make sure that you can control that erosion and make sure you don't lose your topsoil. We've also talked about how to begin to look at the quality of your soil and the composition of that soil. And yesterday we left off, I encouraged you to get on YouTube and to find a video that showed you how to make a soil ribbon, or see if your topsoil would make a ribbon. And again, if you haven't done that, I know yesterday it was raining, but if you haven't done that, over the next few days, find a place that you can get some topsoil and try that and just see what the composition of that soil is, and then ask yourself, what did you discover, and go back and look at that video, and I put some little hints in there, little tips on how to tell what kind of topsoil that you're looking at. So today what I want to do is spend just a few minutes talking about containers and container gardens. It's something I get asked a lot of questions about, and how do I do it? How do I make it successful? Can I do it at my place? Jeremy, I've tried it and I have this problem or that problem, and I'm definitely no expert on the matter, but I do want to share some things with you guys today, because I really got to thinking about this as we were talking about drainage the other day. Now, with containers, they can come in all shapes and sizes. You can literally spend hundreds of dollars, $200, $300, $400 on building a beautiful container garden or a raised bed garden. And there's a lot of perks to that, especially if you're a little older and bending over and weeding things kind of drives you crazy. I hope to, in the coming days, to be able to do some videos over using plastic mulch, which is another way to keep you from having to go and to weed and do all that stuff that kind of drives some of us crazy, unless you're my wife. She loves that stuff. But for me, I like planting a garden. I like harvesting it. I don't mind tilling a little bit, but this very tedious getting down and having to pick little weeds out, that's not my forte. That's not what I like to do or where I like to spend my time. But if you're looking to do a raised bed or a container garden for the right person in the right situation, especially if you're in town or you have very limited space, it's not a bad option. Now, first of all, I want to focus on what kind of container do you use? Well, again, that goes back to what are you trying to do and how much money do you have to invest? Now, here at Richland a few years ago, we decided we were going to do an experiment with containers, and we decided that we wanted to plant blackberry bushes, okay? And the idea is hopefully we were going to raise enough blackberries that we could either A, sell them, or B, do some jam, and everybody gets to go home with some nice jam, right? Who doesn't like blackberry jam, okay? But what we found that things went pretty good as far as the containers go, but the quality of the product, the plant that we bought, maybe wasn't as good as we had hoped it to be. So we probably won't be buying from that supplier again, just because of the survivability of the plants that we got. So what we did is we put the word out to local farmers, and we got an outpouring of these mineral tubs. Now, they look a little rough because they're weathered, and we've got a couple right here in production. You can see that we do need a little weeding to happen. Usually I would get some students to do that, but since we're not in school, it's not happening right now. But what we are doing in these mineral tubs is exactly what I've been talking about. You see those vines right here, or those branches. That is a blackberry vine, and that's a thornless blackberry vine. So you can get on the internet and you can order those from various suppliers every day of the week. So what I did is I took a trailer, I loaded those things up, I went home, and as crazy as it sounds, I went out to where we had fed hay all winter. I used the bucket on the front end loader. I loaded these dudes down with a good, we'll use a good buzzword here, compost, okay? It was a mixture of hay, cow manure, and dirt, okay? And we put them in these containers. Those containers then were placed right here beside our greenhouse, which is in front of me, and we put this wire panel that we got donated to us from the local co-op. We put wire panels all down through here, and that's, at one point we had about 10 to 12 different tubs. In those tubs over the past 4 or 5 years, we've raised these blackberry bushes, these vines, and as some of them have not made it, again, I blame it on the quality of the product that we bought, but about half of them made it and half of them didn't. The ones that didn't make it, we started planting tomatoes and got some fresh tomatoes out of the plants that we had grown here at the greenhouse, and opened it up for people to come by and pick tomatoes if they did not have tomatoes planted at home. So the big thing is you need to have something in these containers that the plants are actually going to grow in. A good compost is good, but you've got to continue to make sure that that nutrient content stays at a good rate for the plants, because if you're planting in the same container year after year after year and you're using the same dirt, you're not going to get, you're going to begin to see a decrease in the quality of the plants that you're growing, because they don't have any nutrients. So you have to think about where are my plants getting their nutrients, okay? There's something else that I want to show you that could be the single most, and I'm sorry about the sun hitting you, the single most important thing to do when raising a container garden. And I'm going to show you by these containers right here that we've got hung up, if you guys can see it. Okay, we drilled holes in the bottom of this thing. So my question to you guys is, why drill holes in it? Okay, if you said that you do that to let the water drain through, you're right. Because see, the problem is these guys are sitting outside. So if we get 6 inches of rain and it all collects in this tub, even though this tub is full of soil, then we're still going to have some bad problems. We're going to have some moisture problems. We don't have proper drainage. And that goes back to our soil conversation that we've been having over the last couple of weeks. You have to have adequate drainage to any soil that you're planning on growing anything in. And most soil you're planning on growing something in, or the good Lord is using birds to drop seeds there or whatever, that you are not going to leave a place completely bare. It's going to cover itself, or you're going to cover it. So if I'm trying to grow any type of crops, if I have an area that pools with water, you're going to notice that the plants just do not do well. Now, they may do well for a while, but eventually you're going to look at that plant, and if the drainage is poor enough and over a long enough period of time, you're going to see a decrease in production. So let's put it real world. Say I've got a cornfield and I've got a low-lying area that likes to collect water. Okay, if that plant does grow, if that corn plant does grow to maturity, and let's just go out on a limb and say it does produce ears of corn, then you're going to notice that those ears do not develop in the same way or to the same extent that they would have had that area stayed properly dry. Now, the total opposite is true as well. If I have a soil and it stays too dry, then again, you're going to have some bad problems. So I want you guys to realize that the type of material, whether it be a compost, whether it be a soil that you have, a potting soil that you're using, or whether it be good old dirt, okay? Paula Gale, my soil science teacher, would have bashed me for that one, but soil, okay? Dirt's what you find, you know, underneath the bookcases, she used to say. But the soil that we are planting stuff in, okay, it has to be at a proper nutrient level for us to have the kind of growth, whether it be for row crop or whether it be for pasture, that we need in order to make the product that we want. All right. So when you're talking about container gardens, you know, choose what you want to raise your stuff in. Whether it be a free mineral feeder that somebody else gave you, these work really well. My mother-in-law has a raised bed in a plastic container, a big plastic container that seed comes in for row croppers. It works really well. You don't have to go out and spend $400 on building a raised bed unless your husband needs a project, or you just want to outdo the neighbors and make it look better, okay? It doesn't have to be all fancy, but whatever amount of money you put in it, you need to make sure it works. So if I put $400 or $500 in a raised bed and it doesn't have the proper drainage, then we've got some problems. You also need to make sure that that nutrient content of your raised bed stays at optimum levels. So you may have to fertilize, especially after the first year. And then making sure that you have proper drainage. Again, I can't stress that enough, and that's kind of what we're hitting home today. But with container gardens, a lot of the secret goes into the sauce is you need to make sure that you have good drainage in your soil, and that's going to help you to take a step in the right direction. We'll see you guys tomorrow and post another video. I do want to give a shout out today to our 2 state degree recipients, AJ Ray and Rebecca Davis. Both of those guys were waiting to walk across the stage at state convention. If we were at FFA State Convention today, they would have been doing that, but I want to congratulate them because they have worked really hard to get where they're at. We're excited to see where they go from here and what they have in store for them in the world of agriculture. But just congratulations, guys, and I wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors. And you guys stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow.